Hey, and welcome to today's video. My name is Nicole Tran, and I'm going to be uncovering this specific framework that will allow you to win more of your ideal projects by using this specific thing. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. First, before I dive into anything, let's go through this logic. Right? So there are only two things successful firms do really well. Number one is selling architecture or design services, and number two is delivering architecture or design services. And without number one, you cannot have number two, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? And the problem is that I've noticed a lot of architects and designers generally do not like selling or feeling like they are selling, and that they do not have a proven or repeatable sales process. And the solution here is really confronting those limiting beliefs that you may have towards selling and understanding a sales process, and in a minute I'll explain what that is and what that looks like. And number two is implementing a proven sales process. So you can't win projects if you don't have a sales process in place, or you can't win projects consistently that you really like without relying on referrals, without a proven sales process in place. Is a better way to word it, right? And the problem is that most architects and designers just do not have this process in place, and they just aren't winning projects that they want consistently without relying on that referral or that network that they're using to win those projects, right? And the key here is to have a sales process. So I'm going to be breaking down the typical sales process and then showing you a kind of new and modified version, right? And this basically allows you to have more predictability and more control over how you're winning your projects, right? So like I said, when you're depending on referrals and word of mouth and networking to get you more projects, the problem is when the economy is down, then there's no way for you to get business if you're relying on outside sources, right? Or if you want to kind of hit the business goals that you want, or you want to scale a team or sustain employees, then you need a consistent way. And that's exactly what a sales process will help you provide, or kind of be the backbone of, you winning projects, right? And I'm going to break down the typical sales process and what that looks like, right? So starting off, you have a new lead and they come in. And as you can see here, there's a lot of pit holes, right? And this is when, I guess, let's say a website visitor, they visit your website, right? They read some stuff on your website, but they kind of fall through the cracks. Let's say they maybe contact you, but they just want to kind of window shop and see what your prices are, right? So new leads come in, they are kind of interested, but then they lose contact and they fall off, and then the architect and the designer never follows up with them ever again, right? And up until the consultation period, so people will have a new lead come in through their website and then book them straight into a consultation, right? And on that consultation, what I've seen, what most firms say is that they basically explain their expertise, their portfolio, years of experience, what awards they've gotten, and all of that. But the problem is that's what 95% of what your competitors might say, right? So instead of them looking at you through a lens of value, they're looking at you through a lens of price. And typically, after they get through the consultation, they'll send the proposal over after kind of getting to know more of the projects and doing site visits, of course, right? And typically that's where the fall off is, because again, they're seeing you through a lens of price rather than value. So when you present your proposal and you show them your fees and what that looks like, they're going to go back to window shopping and finding a cheaper architect because they don't see the value in actually working with you, right? Because it's not communicated typically in the consultation or within that period of that lead coming into the proposal, right? And then people fall off at this point here and they never make it to the full design service or the new client area, right? And now there's not really a problem with this process. I mean, there's ways that you can improve it and kind of keep the same framework, but it's just not very, it's not as productive, and you're not maximizing all the leads that come through, right? So it's just the typical sales process that most design firms follow, right? And now I want to talk about the value-driven sales process. So off the bat, before you even have a conversation with them, this process is basically you nurture that prospect before they even talk to you on the phone or in person, right? And this intro call, this point of contact here, this call is essentially dedicated to solely listening to your client's wants and needs. And what this does is when most prospects hop on phone calls with architect or design firms, they're basically met with that firm just pitching right off the bat, right? Without really kind of asking, besides the logistics, right? If they have property, if they're qualified, like what their budget is, not really diving deep into what that prospect wants. They'll find out the kind of base surface level, information, and then they'll go straight to pitching that prospect without finding out, their desire for a new home, without finding out what they're looking for within a design firm, right? And that's what this intro call is kind of centered around. It's centered around the prospect, right? So right off the bat, you're setting yourself apart from all of these other architects and design firms who are just finding out the base value and then pitching their services, right? And pitching to get a consultation in, right? So intro call, you're basically finding out their wants and needs and diving deeper into why they want their project, right? So let's say it's a developer, what are they looking for within an architect or design firm, or what are their values, right? So finding out that stuff first and asking the right questions will set you apart, even just on the first part of contact, right? And then up until the consultation period, this interaction is essentially dedicated to tailoring your firm and your service as the solution to their wants and needs. So these two basically tie in together, right? The intro call sets you up for basically what you're going to say in your consultation, whether that's in person or on Zoom, right? And off the bat, this is incredibly impactful already, right? Because now, Instead of them viewing you through the lens of price, they're viewing you through the lens of value because their result is directly proportional to your service, right? Your incentives are essentially aligned, so it's much harder for them to go out and find other architects or design firms to work with because they're not aligned with their incentives, right? And this kind of new way of basically talking to prospects allows you to capture all of those, let's say, people who, aren't quite ready, they're not quite educated. This allows you to capture kind of that large pool and also educate them at the same time and also basically capture their attention, right? So off the bat, the intro call consultation, they play together in this entire process, right? And now I want to talk about something called the pre-design service. So you may have heard of this, you may have not. Pre-design service is basically anything from a site visit, a conceptual design package, a low commitment consultation, but these are items that are paid for, right? And essentially, this allows prospects and you as well as the architect or design firm to have a taste of the working relationship before even actually diving into a full design service, right? And off the bat, this allows the prospect to kind of put some trust into you before committing fully, right? Because obviously the number one thing, so behind the fee objection, the number one thing is that they don't trust you yet. That's why they say, I need to think about it. Let me go talk to another, I'm talking to other companies right now. It's because they don't trust you yet. They don't know, like, or trust you, right? So this pre-design service basically allows you to kind of recoup the money that, maybe you were running ads or something, recoup the money that you spend to talk to the prospect or to acquire them as a consult. So this is one of the number one driving factors that allows you to do that, right? And since you have this pre-design service, it makes this step from proposal to full design service so much easier, because after they've paid for your service and you've proven to them that your company is what you say you are in the beginning, then this transition is so much easier and there's a lot less objections, right? Because they understand your value, they understand that you can do what you say you can do, and jumping to the full design service, it makes it a lot easier. So yeah, that's the entire video, the framework that I wanted to kind of show you guys. And if you want more information and see how me and my team can help you implement this process and also generate prospects to actually go through this framework with, then just go ahead and book in a time down below using that link in the description. And I'll talk to you guys soon and see you on the next one. Cheers.